65 million years ago, a massive meteorite crashed into the Earth, causing an unprecedented mass extinction event, wiping out 75% of all life on Earth, including the dinosaurs. While the event had devastating effects on the Earth's atmosphere and its remaining life forms, the mass extinction of the dinosaurs opened up opportunities for the surviving mammals to take hold of the Earth. Today, when we think of astronomical events, our mind tends to conjure such images of asteroids and meteors raining down, bringing cataclysmic destruction, an impartial yet devastating act of nature. However, in the ancient world, such astral phenomena were interpreted not as part of the natural order, but as signs delivered directly from their almighty gods, potentially heralding peace or war. Throughout human history, there have been a number of lesser-known astrological events that have shaped the face of human history as we know it. This video is going to explore those events. Halleys Comet is probably the most well-known of all the comets. It's the only short-period comet that's visible to the naked eye, and its 76-year circuit means it's the one comet that pretty much everyone can hope to see once, if not twice, during their lifetime. Because of this unique trait and its often stunning appearances, it's become something of humanity's companion throughout human history, popping up over and over again in historical records, appearing as early as 240 BC by Chinese scholars. Upon the appearance of Halleys Comet over England in Normandy in 1066, the famous Benedictine monk and chronicler William of Jumièges wrote, "At that time a star appeared in the northwest, its three-forked tail stretched far into the southern sky, remaining visible for 15 days, and it was portended, as many said, a change in some kingdom." Duke William of Normandy is said to have stated that the appearance of the comet is a wonderful sign from heaven. According to legend, William already had the support of the Pope to invade England, but he took the appearance of Halleys Comet as a sure sign that God would support his claim to the English throne. A few months later, Duke William of Normandy defeated the army of English King Harold Godwinson, and William of Normandy became William I of England. This marked the beginning of Norman rule over the English, resulting ultimately in profound political, administrative, and social change in the British Isles. However, no Halleys Comet sighting has been more impactful than the one in 1222 AD by the legendary and brutal conqueror Genghis Khan, ruler of the Mongol Empire. By the early 13th century, the Mongol Empire had already conquered a massive portion of Western and Eastern Asia, including Turkestan, Uzbekistan, Iran, and China. In 1222, Halleys Comet once again made a pass over our planet with perhaps the most devastating effect in its history. The Great Khan Temujin, known to the West as Genghis Khan, supposedly took the comet as his own personal star. This interpretation of a rare celestial event had devastating and irreversible consequences for not only ancient civilization, but changed the course of history and life as we know it today. According to legend, he reasoned that Halleys Comet's westward trajectory was a sign that he should focus his conquests westward. While the Great Khan Temujin had spent most of his reign conquering Western and Eastern Asia, further westward nations have been left relatively untouched. While Genghis himself would die just 5 years later, his ancestors went on to invade and conquer parts of Poland, Western Russia, Hungary, and Bulgaria. The resulting Mongol Empire was the largest empire in all of history, stretching from Poland to the Chinese coast. The impact of the vast Mongol Empire has been felt all over the globe. Discoveries in astronomy, medicine, and engineering exploded over the next few decades, as the Mongol Empire put great importance on the development of the sciences, trade, currency, and culture. The Mayans, famous for being avid astronomers, would wage decisive wars, later coined Star Wars, that would coincide with the appearance of the planet Venus in either the morning or night sky. Similarly to how Mars was thought to be the bringer of war in European civilizations, many Mesoamerican civilizations believed the appearance of Venus was a favorable omen for military action. These wars fought between two Mayan polities. Small independent kingdoms were represented in Mayan inscriptions by a specific type of glyph. These glyphs would often depict a star showering the earth in droplets, or a star over a shell. It is thought that these glyphs conveyed a particular verb used by the ancient Mayans, but its meaning has yet to be decoded. These battles represented significant power shifts within Mayan civilization, often resulting in the secession of one polity from another, the inauguration of a new line of rulers, or total domination of one polity over another. The first recorded star war in 562 between the polities Karakal and Tikal resulted in a 120-year decline of the Tikal kingdom. Almost 200 years later, Tikal retaliated in another star war, sacking Karakal and capturing an effigy of its ruler god. These battles were often devastating for both sides. An inscription was recovered describing a star war saying, "The blood was pooled, the skulls were piled." Over 13 of these major star wars were recorded between the years 562 and 781 AD. Without the use of stars, we would quite literally be lost at sea. Dating back to as early as 2000 BC, travelers have turned their gaze to the sky in order to place themselves and plot their course. The concept of celestial navigation was thought to have first originated from the ancient Minoans on the island of Crete. Celestial navigation is finding one's location by use of stars or planets and their relation to the visible horizon. The stars move in a predictable way throughout all quadrants of the sky and all times of the day and year. In order to travel long distances and through the night, the Minoans would use two constellations they named the Two Bears. Today, these constellations are better known to us as the Little and Big Dippers. Due to their expertise in celestial navigation, the ancient Minoans were able to effortlessly traverse the entire Mediterranean basin. Under the guidance of the stars, the Minoans engaged in trade with Syria, Asia Minor, now Turkey, Egypt, and even as far west as the island of Sicily. More important than what they delivered, the Minoans received new technologies and ideas which they in turn spread throughout the budding civilizations of Europe. According to Herodotus, in the year May 28, 585 BCE, a solar eclipse brought an end to a 6-year conflict raging between the Medes and Lydians. A decisive battle was to be fought between at the Halleys River in modern Turkey. In the midst of battle, the sky darkened, bringing the fighting to an immediate halt. The appearance of the eclipse was interpreted as an omen, and a truce between the two bitter rivals was agreed upon. To cement the peace, the two leaders swore a blood oath in which they made a cut on their arms and drank each other's blood. A marriage was then arranged between the Lydian king's daughter and the son of the king of the Medes, Cyaxares. Afterwards, the Halleys River became the border between the two nations. Cyaxares was the great-grandfather of the famous founder of the First Persian Empire, Cyrus the Great. The kingdoms of Mede and Lydia would eventually be made into provinces of the Persian Empire under his reign. This eclipse is also noteworthy for being accurately predicted by the famous Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus. If true, this would be the earliest recorded eclipse being known in advance of its appearance. How exactly he predicted this eclipse still remains unknown, if he ever did predict it at all. However, because we know that an eclipse occurred on May 25, 585 BC, if this story is true, it would be what science fiction writer Isaac Asimov described as the earliest historical event whose date is known with precision to the day. During the Third Mithridatic War in the year 74 BC, fought between the Roman Republic and the Kingdom of Pontus led by Mithridates VI, the Roman general Lucullus was defending an attack from a massive army led by one of Mithridates' generals. According to Plutarch, the two armies met each other on an open plain underneath a clear sky and were just about to engage when a huge flaming silver object came crashing down between them. The two frightened armies then separated. The Romans were outnumbered and may very well have been defeated if not for this celestial intervention. The Sicilian Expedition was a failed military operation by the Athenians in the years 415 to 413 BC during the Peloponnesian War against Sparta's ally, the Kingdom of Syracuse. The Athenian forces had previously suffered a devastating defeat and prepared to sail home. On August 28, a lunar eclipse occurred. According to the Athenian general and historian Thucydides, the commander of the operation, Nicias, was a superstitious man, and so asked his priests the meaning of this divine signal. The priests suggested that the Athenians wait for another 27 days before sailing off, and Nicias consented to their counsel. The Syracusans took advantage of this to attack the Athenians' forces that were already vulnerable from wounds and malaria. Their ships attacked and destroyed the Athenians' fleet while it was still in the harbor and killed one of their generals. Historians debate whether the expedition was doomed to fail from the outset, and that the expedition was an act of hubris and military adventurism. However, others argue that it may have succeeded if not for the series of poor decisions made by the Athenian leadership, Nicias' tactical errors in particular. The defeat was devastating to Athens. 10,000 hoplites perished along with the huge Athenian fleet. Many of their allies abandoned them, either revolting or joining the Spartans. A few years later, the Athenian democracy was overthrown in favor of oligarchy, and critically, the Great Persian Empire joined the war on the Spartan side. Athens managed to survive for almost another decade, but after the failure of the expedition, the war was essentially lost. In 404 BC, they were eventually defeated and occupied by Sparta. While perhaps not apparent to us today, the actions of these ancient civilizations have helped shape the world in which we currently live. The way humans interpreted the cosmos in antiquity set in motion the events that would ultimately lead to Earth's modern civilizations. Until next time, thank you for watching Astral, and remember, keep looking up.